from Prairie View Farms in Gridley, Illinois. Today I'm going to be giving you a demonstration on how to properly wash your calf. So I'm going to start off by soaping. You can notice as I'm soaping, I am covering the entire calf with soap. I'm also making sure that I avoid the ears, but every other inch of their body should be covered with soap. I'm also making sure that I get the top and the belly of my calf really good, because that's where you want to have a lot of good hair growth for clipping later on. Even if you don't have a soaper, you want to still get about the same effect as I am getting here. And you want it to be really sudsy so that you can make sure that your calf gets nice and clean.
I'm not expecting to grow flowers in the desert, but I can live and breathe and see the sun in winter time. In a big country, dreams stay with you like a lover's voice sparks the mountainside. Stay alive. In a big country, dreams stay with you like a lover's voice sparks the mountainside. Stay alive.
Alright, so now that you've covered your calf in soap, I'm going to go ahead and scrub. While their hair is this short, since he's just been sheared, I'm going to use a scrub brush that looks like this. But if they had longer hair, then I would use a comb, because the main goal is you want to make sure that you're scrubbing all the way down into the skin so that you get their entire coat. So, when you're scrubbing, especially while their hair is this short, I always start at the tail head, and then you just want to make sure that you scrub their entire body, all forward. The main goal is that you want all of their body hair to be going in a similar direction to what it would be if you were clipping. That way it will train the hair so that it's easier for fitters on show day. If your calf has really long hair, then you could also comb all the hair up once you are all done combing it forward, but you have to make sure that you comb forward first in order to avoid knots and ripping out their hair. You can get the inside of the legs too, especially. That's really important. A lot of people forget about it.
Stay alive. In a big country, dreams stay with you like a lover's voice sparks the mountainside. Stay alive.
So we usually wash our calves about 2 to 3 times a week, especially during the winter. That's all we do, is we wash them about 3 times a week. But then during the summer, when it's hotter outside, so that we keep them cool, we do it. We still wash 3 times a week, but then we also rinse them twice a day to make sure that they stay cooled off, because they'll grow hair better when they're nice and cooled off. You don't want to wash your calves too much, because then you'll just end up drying their hair out even more and they won't be able to grow hair quite as easily. But you do want to make sure that you're keeping their skin and hair clean as much as possible. Okay, so on his belly, I can tell that his hair is a little longer, and I can't quite get all the way to the skin with my scrub brush. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and grab a comb so that I can get all of the dirt and whatever's on his stomach. The rule of thumb is the more hair that the calf has, the wider apart you want the bristles of your instrument or comb or whatever you're using to comb. Sometimes I will comb the hair down on the stomach first or in different directions to make sure that I get all of this stuff because they tend to get really dirty on their stomachs. So making sure everything ends up going completely forward. And then when I do his hind, I'm not going to use a curry comb. A lot of people assume that whenever you're doing his tail and everything to just use the curry comb to get everything, but that will actually rip out more hair than what's necessary since we're trying to grow hair here. So I just use the scrub brush, and that should be able to get the job done. Alright, so I just went ahead and finished scrubbing him and everything, making sure I got everything nice and clean. Now, if you haven't washed your calf for a while, or if you feel like they're especially dirty, you can always soap over them again. But since he just got washed about a day or so ago, I'm just going to go ahead and rinse him out. You'll also notice that I did not rinse before I soaped, and that's because I personally feel like that gets the soap better onto the skin and everything. That's just a personal preference though. So yeah. I rinse pretty much the same way that I wash. So when I'm doing their head, I make sure that I get everything except for the ears. I make sure that I'm covering their entire body, and usually I go over them multiple times to make sure that there's no suds or anything left over. And I also make sure I really focus on their tops and their bellies, especially when I'm just rinsing, because you want hair growth, and then that's also where it's gonna be easiest for them to stay cool. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. So the last thing that I'm going to do before I start working hair is put conditioner in, and I use a soaper just like I did, and I have a separate one. This one, the blue one has soap, black one has conditioner. Cow's hair gets dry just like humans does, so that's why we do use conditioner. And I just apply it just like soap. I don't go quite as thorough as I do with soap. You don't want to make your calf white again, but you want to make sure that their entire coat is covered with conditioner.
Hi, my name is Adam Miller. I'm from Grizzly, Illinois, and today I'm going to be showing you how to work hair and get a calf blown dry. So now that my sister has the calf conditioned and washed correctly, I'm going to comb through it with a ricer brush and a narrow tooth comb. Yeah, so basically, like you wash it, you want to make sure you take everything forward. And right here, where he has a little more hair, and on his legs, I use the narrow tooth comb to make sure that I get all the way down to his skin and pull all the hair straight forward.
What tools you use when working hair is mainly based on personal preference, but we tend to find that the rice root brushes do the best job at not only getting every single hair and pulling every single hair, but also stimulating more hair growth. The comb is mainly good for detangling and all that kind of stuff. As you can see, Adam is still bringing all of the hair forward towards his head, even on his neck and his brisket. So for the tail head, Adam makes sure he just doesn't go too far down when he's shaping it, and making sure that it's in the same shape that it would be on show day when it's being fit. You can see here Adam's really working that leg hair. That's really important, especially for show day, so that you can make sure you build the legs up as much as possible. And he's also making sure that he gets the insides of the legs so that everything around the whole leg is nice and even.
So now that you have your calf comb dry, you can probably work hair for as long as you'd like, because if anything, keep on brushing on them, because that will help grow their hair and make their skin better. But once you get done with that, then you can take your blower and start blowing them dry.
When you're blowing, you really just want to make sure that everything goes forward. You want to make sure that the blower is close to the hide, because if you keep it too far back, you really won't get anywhere. Later on, when we blow in product, then that's when you'll pull it farther away. But while you're trying to blow out the water, then you want it to be as close to the hide as possible. You want to make sure that you're also keeping your blower moving nice and fast. Don't just hold it in one place, because that's not comfortable for them.
So now that you have your calf dry, you want to take your clean sheen. This is a mixture of sheen and pink moisturizer. It's good for their skin once they're dry. Basically, you want to lightly coat or heavily coat compared to how dry their skin is. Their whole body, legs and everything, and that stuff. Then you take your scrub brush and you want to go through it once, all through their whole body, taking it mostly up and forward, making sure that you kind of work that into their skin.
You don't really want to see the product too much, any of the drips and stuff, before you start blowing again. You want everything to be pretty worked into the hair just with the scrub brush as much as you can.
And then once you're done brushing through it, come over here, you can get your blower again. And you hold it a little bit further back and just work it into the skin. With the same pressure. And make sure you can get it all worked in. And the more you just blow and brush, the better that hair is going to grow. Usually do this for about an hour in the summertime, and in the winter we'll do it for about a half hour to an hour like that. But it really does help grow that hair well.
Also notice the way that Adam's holding the brush and how he's combing pretty much everything upwards too, kind of going against the normal forward to encourage that hair to pull and grow. You can also notice that he's pulling pretty hard, or he's putting quite a bit of pressure while he's doing this. That's really important because you don't really get anywhere just barely touching them. So today we're going to be talking about showmanship. So when we practice showmanship at home, we usually do it every time we wash them, and then some days extra, depending on how much they need it. And usually we practice for about 15 to 30 minutes a day. The biggest thing to keep in mind when you're practicing showmanship at home is to stay consistent as far as how frequent you do showmanship. So you want to make sure that you're practicing every 3 days, every day in the summer, usually for us, just so your calf keeps up with their progress. The thing that you don't want to keep consistent though is how where the location is that you're practicing showmanship. You want your calf to be exposed to many different locations, so that way when you take them to a show for the first time, they don't freak out because they're in a new environment. So if I did showmanship every day, say right here where I am right now, then when I went to the county fair, my steer would not be very happy and would be very confused about what was going on. So I'll take him out to other barns, other places around the farm, to the front yard, etc. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So as I'm walking, I'm going to continue holding my calf's head up and close to his head, and I'm going to transition and switch hands as I'm still walking and pulling my steer into place. I'm going to try and set up my steer as close to the position that I want him in as possible now, and that position is going to change for every calf, but there's a main general idea that you're going to want to keep for every calf. All right, so the main places, as far as the basics of where to have your calf's feet placed, you want their two front feet to be parallel to each other, and then you want the back foot that's closest to you to be closest towards their head, and then you want the back foot that's away from you to be farther away from their head, so that way they're staggered. The biggest thing you want to keep in mind when you're practicing showmanship is to always stay calm. That makes it feel like you have control over your calf, and it helps your calf to stay under your control and do what they're supposed to be doing.
And if I had $1 million, I'd buy your love.
Hi, my name is Adam Miller, and today we're going to be fitting. So, when you're fitting, the first thing I like to do is comb through the leg and kind of make sure that you have all the hair going in the direction that you want. And you're going to be starting by using tail adhesive. And first thing you want to do is shake it up, because then it helps spray it better, and then you don't get any of the long stringy stuff to come out. And basically, you want to make a point or a line right here, and then you want to make a line right here, and all of this you want to fluff and make that look. You want to fluff that and kind of take it straight up, but keep it big and powerful. Because when you're working on any steers, or when you're working on a steer, you want to make the leg look as big as possible. So as I make my point here, the one thing I like to remember when I'm fitting is we want to do a lot more combing and a lot less spraying. So if you ever can't get something, you want to make sure you keep combing through it and combing the hair in the direction that you want it to go. And soon enough, it should go for you.
Would eat Kraft dinner. Of course we would. We just need more. And buy really expensive ketchups with it.
That's right. All the fanciest Dijon ketchup.
So as I make my point, I want to make sure I line it up with the middle of his hoof and me keep it going straight up and down.
If I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a green dress.
What, not a real green dress? That's cruel.
And if I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you some art.
a Picasso or a Garfunkel.
If I had $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
well, I'd buy you a monkey.
haven't you always wanted a monkey?
If I had $1 million, I'd buy your
So here Adam's just forming the back point.
And you want to do the same thing on the back on the back side of it when you make your fin. Line it up in the middle of the hoof. And also always remember that you gotta do the insides. because that's just more hair to help build the leg and make it look bigger. I'm gonna now use a wide tooth comb to help pick through it and make sure that it's nice and natural and fluffy. Now before I start fitting or start painting, I like to comb through the leg and make sure with my wide tooth and make sure that it's not gummy or there's nothing too hard or too solid. And if there is, then you want to pick through it. What I'm doing now is pulling the hair in the middle down and then back up. So then the hair, if you look at it from behind, it should kind of pop out more from this region than it did before. Which makes the leg bigger and more powerful, which is what we want. Now I'm gonna take my Powerful, shake it up really good, and then just spray the whole leg, just a little bit, not too much. That also helps build the leg. It also helps me see the hair better. As you can see, it kind of pops out a little bit, and now I can see my back fin and my front fin better than I could before.
I do want to advise you though, make sure you know what the rules are for every show you go to, because not all of them allow you to use
So
paint.
now I can start fitting or clipping. For me, I always like to make sure the legs are in the right spot as they would be in the show ring or close to it. Or especially when I'm doing my fins. But right now, when I'm just clipping the middle of it, it doesn't make that big of a deal. It make that much of a difference. Make sure I make the middle all one flat, even surface. Because I don't want to make him look big hawked right here. But I also don't want to leave too many long straggly hairs along the outsides. So I'm going to trim up the outsides just to make sure that there is no long hairs. But like right in here, you want to make sure that it's trimmed down enough to where it doesn't look like he has too big of a hawk. So now I got the hawk clipped down. I'm going to keep doing the middle, but I'm going to trim up the straggly hairs leading into my back fin and my front fin. And also take down the ankle. If your blades aren't clipping right or anything, make sure you brush them off good. As you can see, that makes the leg look a whole lot smoother and more eye-appealing. Now I'm just taking down the hawk more. Now that I've got that all evened up, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the back of it. I'll go ahead and put my inside now. You want to do a lot of the same things as you did on the others. Which is making it even and smooth and all that. Now I've got the back done, so I'm going to move to the front of the leg. And I'm going to do basically the same thing. Just smoothing up the front of it before I take down the line. Now, as I take down the front line of him, we're keeping the pull tight again, or the hawk tight again, I'm sorry. And then we want to cut down the pastern, which normally would almost go to the skin. Almost, not to the skin, but you would go pretty tight to make it look like a nice even swish kind of leading into his hoof, which makes him look like he sets down easier and isn't quite so straight off his fronts. So now I've got that done, I'm kind of going to set back and look at the whole leg and what I need to fix about it. And I see about right here, doesn't look like it leads into the front line quite well. And right here doesn't look like it leads into it well enough. So I'm going to tighten those two places up. As you can see, that looks a lot better. It flows a whole lot better. So now I'm going to smooth all this up. Now that I have that done, I'm gonna kind of stand up, walk back here, and check it out. Really how it looks. And I think I need to fix right here and right here to make him look, make the leg kind of poke out with it, or go with the leg, I guess. And also tighten up this pull right here just a little bit. And then I think we'll be pretty close.
With a broken frame, alone and helpless, like you've lost your fight, but you'll be alright, you'll be alright. Cause when push comes to shove, you taste what you're made of. You might bend till you break, cause it's all you can take. On your knees you look up, decide you've had enough. You get mad, you get strong, wipe your hair and shake it off. Then you stand. Then you stand. Nice like a novel.
And now I'm going to step back and look at it again. And I think it looks pretty good. Now I've got it cooked completely. I'm going to take my jet black, and lightly coat over all of it. I want to make sure I keep a safe distance away Just making sure I hit all the white spots on the leg. And then I'll take my jet black, my finisher, and go over it once.